Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining me on my channel. My name is Aya and you're watching A Very Good Life. I am doing this live for those of you who are watching this back, so excuse me if I just kind of talk about like nothing at first to wait for people to get in. Well, I will just talk about Pluto in general in the comments that I've been reading. Excuse these spots on my shirt. I just got finished washing clothes. I washed them by hand. Um, Pluto, to me, in my opinion, in my experience, working with hundreds of clients, um, is not a place of automatic healing. It isn't even a place of sensitivity to where you would be sensitive to yourself or sensitive to um, other people. It's a place of drama and interaction and kind of like dropping bombs and then like waiting for the dust to settle. Um, or reactionary drama to where you're reacting to your environment and it may look insane to other people or people may not understand it or it may look like you're acting out or you're young and dumb or you're reacting without wisdom, without any notion of spirituality or consequences sometimes. Um, if it's retrograde or if it's in, say, like a 12th house or next to Neptune, it could be suppressed energy to where you're imploding on the inside, you know. And so when I read people's comments about these Pluto placements, everybody's already healed. They're like, I don't do that anymore. I'm not that way anymore. And Pluto really isn't necessarily about that. Honestly, Pluto's pretty fucking sneaky as far as the ways it you interact. Just because you remove yourself from the environment that may trigger, which is a start, that may trigger certain reactions out of you, doesn't mean that you're completely done growing in this area of your life. I want people to kind of look at their healing process as like a child. Um, it grows up and you might mature, but you have the same issues most of the time, all of your life, not necessarily in the same way. It may not show up in the same way in your childhood because I feel like a lot of the ways that I read, especially on YouTube, is just in general for people who have experienced these some particular traumas and stuff when it comes to these aspects because I like to start off at the origins because unless you get down to the root of something, you're not really going to be able to find your way out or through. All right, so this is the moon and Pluto, or the eighth house and the moon in Scorpio, um, Pluto in the fourth house. Fourth house is connected to Cancer and the moon. And this is all going to be very sensitive and maybe even blind. People who have this aspect may even be blind. But let's start off here that a lot of times when I read people, in order to ease them into their own energy, it's easier to start off talking about somebody else. So let's talk about your mother when it comes to this aspect. Your home, your personal life growing up, your environment, and how you absorb the energy. Now, people with a strong Pluto aspect, a lot of times will walk around with a smile plastered on their face, trying to cover up their intense emotional drama going on in their lives. They don't want people to read them. They don't want people to know that they're scared. They don't want people to know that they're um, experiencing some type of abuse, especially if it's at the hands of someone that is a caretaker. Why? The dog is barking. Because children want to survive. And, it comes down to, I love my mom, I love my dad. But really, you're afraid that if you don't keep up an image that your caretaker wants you to keep up, or obedient to the environment, like the subconscious, like undercurrent of energy that needs to be obeyed by everyone. Most of the time, you'll have this feeling of abandonment from your caretaker. Like they'll be cold, give you the cold shoulder, they won't talk to you, or you'll need affection and you won't get it. Or and some parents will be extreme and they won't give you your physical needs, food, water, clothing, and shelter. Like some parents are that extreme, you know. Um, so the mother here has some type of psychological damage, and a lot of times it's a secret from the child. The child doesn't know that their mother has experienced some type of sexual assault. And since this moon energy is connected to Scorpio energy, this is something that oftentimes is passed down from generation to generation. It could be the grandmother. Sometimes I talk to people and it's their grandmother that raised them. And that's oftentimes if there's a Pluto and Moon connection in the between the first and the 12th house energy. That's the grandparents. You know, if I read the Moon in connection to the eighth house in any way, it's definitely kind of like a shamanic type of journey to where you are to resource this energy and learn about your ancestors, the lessons from your ancestors. So the lessons from the matriarchs in the family here um, would be uh, it's a lot of messages actually. It's messages about trust. It's messages about men. It's messages about your sexuality, your psychology as a woman. And now, if you are a man and you have this aspect, then a lot of times when I read men with this aspect, they have really big issues when it comes to dating. They tend to date women who have psychological issues, and they end up being a caretaker, a father figure for these women. These men a lot of times are getting psychologically abused in their relationships, and it's because of the role that they play in, or the role their mother played in their life. Now, the issue with this aspect is emotional rage, emotional trauma that isn't doesn't seem to necessarily like just go away because you want it to. It seems to stick to you, and it's because a lot of times the mothers in these houses with the people with these aspects, your mom may not let you go psychologically. Pluto is about enslavement and letting go. And so psychologically, you could feel like a slave to your mother. When I talk to people with this aspect, especially if we're doing like a really deep healing cleansing session, we will spend a lot. I sometimes spend a lot of times getting them to see in different ways, and with different scenarios, asking many, many questions so that they can see, you know what? I really don't have my independence. I really don't feel free to express my emotions or free to be myself in my relationship with my mother. A lot of times, the mother, if you have this aspect, whoever is your mother will make you feel responsible and guilty. And also, like, her emotional wellness depends upon you being close by, you being a helpmate to your mother, um, and you basically taking on responsibilities when she is mentally, psychologically, or emotionally weak, you know? And so you might be a second mother to your siblings, um, and you feel like love, like, you know what, I love my family. Because Pluto, well, because it's with Scorpio energy, it's very inheritance and heritage connected. Like anytime you're dealing with Scorpio energy, it's like this bond to your family that even if they are terrible to you, you're like, I ride or die for my family. And there's a baseline of guilt connected to that because that's what gets passed on in your family line. That's what gets passed on. This feeling of guilt. Hello to anybody that's popping in. I know I'm doing my live early, but it's because I just want to get this out the way so I can write my book and stuff like that. But yeah, there's this need to set yourself free. There's a need to um, remember your own dreams, and if your dreams weren't to be the caregiver of your mother, her household, and sometimes even to her husband, you might play the role of a wife. It's like your mother becomes a child and you are the mother. And so that, and this oftentimes have happened to your mom too. This is why I'm saying this is a lineage thing. And so if you look at their relationship, if you're having a hard time seeing this, because a lot of times people with this aspect have a hard time seeing clearly, um, because you don't want to like think badly about your mom because you've been groomed to not care about yourself. Really, you've been groomed to basically be a psychological slave to your family, to your mother. Even if it's because she needs you, you know, you know, I don't. I'm really sensitive to this, and I don't take for granted the real time experience of this. You know, it's like it's not as easy as just talking, but um, because this is your mom, this is your family, this is your life, you know, and so I feel like sometimes words and talking on camera discredits sometimes. It's like people's actual experience, like the pain and the love and the drama, you know, all mixed in one. That does create a trauma bond, you know, to where it's like we've been through a lot together. Me and my mom, we've been through everything together. That's my best friend. And so my question would be to you is if you wanted to say go to college, go to school, go after your dreams, would your mom support you? Or would she put up psychological blocks and make you feel guilty for letting go of that particular bond? You know, and a lot of times um, people with this aspect won't question their mother, or they won't even go after what they want because they know deep down inside that they're going to have to face not only flack from their mother, but flack from the siblings as well that have become attached to the role that you're playing in their life. And so The Pluto aspect of breaking free really is deep. Your mom might feel betrayed by you, which is also a Pluto aspect. You, if you really look deeply, you feel betrayed by your mother, you know, and you may feel like, you know, you're waiting on her to give you permission to go do what you want, her blessing, and it just may never happen. And most of the time with Pluto aspects, it's an energy where you have to take your freedom. You have to go through the drama, even if you don't want to. You might want things to be peaceful and normal, and just like, hey, mom, I'm going to college. Oh, great, sweetie. Good luck. I'm here for you. Instead, you get like the silent treatment, a cold shoulder, and maybe even like, what you going to college? What you doing that for? You can't do that. You can't do this. You get more of a jealous response from your mother than you would like, and it seems like nobody really has your back in your family emotionally, and you wonder why, because you have sacrificed everything that you're like, wait, you're like, okay, I've sacrificed my time, my life, my energy. When is it going to be my turn to be a young person or to do whatever it is I want to do? And you'll find that your mother doesn't have the capacity to support you. Wow, non existent. I know, I really hate that this is the case with this aspect. This isn't easy at all. Like, we need our mothers, Everybody wants their mom. I'm sitting here while I'm talking about these things, it makes me want to cry because when I do these astrology readings, it's like I get in touch with the energy, and it's a lonely placement psychologically, and then on top of that, the goal here is to break free. The goal is to break free, or you could end up like what's her name in that movie Misery, to where you're like being yelled at by your mom your whole life, and being her caretaker, and one day you snap on her. Because what happens when you stay in an environment that is emotionally tough for you is you start, and you don't want to admit that this is what's going on and this is what's happening to you. Honestly, you start becoming like your caregiver. One thing I wanted to say is that when I was younger, I was when I was younger, I was deeply interested in forensic, well, in the psychology of like serial killers and stuff like that. And one thing I noticed, a pattern that I saw, I'm not saying that people with the moon, I mean with Pluto in the fourth house are serial killers. Bear with me. The one pattern I did notice that helped me be real about my own life, my own family, is that people who are criminals or serial killers oftentimes won't say anything bad about their parents, even if their parents were abusive towards them, raped them, or murdered their soul. They refuse. They won't let you say anything bad about their parents, and they won't say anything bad about their parents. I think that's called like Stockholm Syndrome. If you want to break free, and you want to transmute and transform your life, although Pluto energy isn't, it's about rising like the phoenix. It's not just about transformation, but it's about complete annihilation. It would be like your mom is dead to you, and you become a brand new person. You're not the same anymore. That's, to me, that's more than just kind of like I'm healed, because that's it's not a soft, gentle process. And so with the moon here, there's a emotional and psychological fragility, because you're like, I can't possibly get through this. I can't possibly do this. This is too much. And I feel like with most Pluto aspects, it does push you to the brink of insanity, and you'd have to make a decision. Because I've been there at the brink of insanity, and I'd be like, okay, ma'am, it wouldn't be helpful to you if you let yourself break like in this way, you know. So let's let's just keep going, because sometimes it seems like a resting point just to break down, because this is exhausting. Like all of this energy here, and then having to break away, knowing, realizing that you can't repair your mother, you can't repair your family, you can't repair your siblings, you can't get the psychological trauma out of your family. You know, you can only um, relearn how to exist within your own bubble, in your own life, in your own environment that you create. And that means reteaching yourself what it means to actually be in a relationship, and to stop caregiving for everyone, you know. Also, this would note someone who would be a great psychologist, someone who would, after you feel strong, of course, I mean, a lot of times um, helping other people is a good way to get out of your own trauma, all this, like always focus on yourself. I don't believe that you have to be like 100% healed or whatever you want to call it, but you do have to be able to stand on your own 2 feet and be able to face yourself and face your life without breaking down, you know, before you start offering services to other people. But this this placement would denote someone, because you've been so close to insanity, would be able to help someone through the traverses of their insanity. Does that make sense? You know. Does anybody have any questions? I think that's it. And my heart goes out to anybody that has this aspect and have lived through this. This is not. This is one of the tough ones. This is one of the tough ones. Well, tell your friend I feel him. I understand. I understand completely. Um, because it's the what's so bad about this placement is the guilt. You know, that your mother could be such a damsel in distress, but also a torturer of your psyche at the same time. It's like the fairy tales about you'll have the perfect mother, the good witch, and you'll have the bad witch. You know, um, that leads you astray. That doesn't necessarily lead you on a path to freedom. It leads you to a path of bondage, enslavement, and sometimes death. And I would say be gentle with yourself, take it easy on yourself, but do stay abreast about what's actually going on in your environment, so that you're not tricked into taking care of your mother, her children, her life for the rest of your life, you know? Well, if nobody really has any questions, um, I'm going to head out. Thank you so much for joining me. You can always replay this back. I'm sorry if you haven't gotten your notifications sooner or whatever. I don't know what goes on in the algorithms and stuff like that. But peace to you guys. Thank you so much.